Hello and welcome to yet another episode of Tai'Shar, a Wheel of Time podcast. I once again am Will.
I'm Sam.
And we are continuing our jaunt through fires of heaven. Sam, why don't you start walking us through?
So back to Rand. And so Rand has a room in the so-called Roof of the Maidens, which is a Rodion building. And he actually picked it out first because it was like kind of close to the middle of town. It wasn't destroyed. It was, it was just kind of a building. He just set up shop there. Then he woke up one day and the maidens had claimed it. And so he like has a level to himself, and everything below that is the maidens, because they are the clan that protects him, and they've also decided to just kind of mother him, like all of them, the young to the old. They're like, "Are you eating enough? Are you sleeping? Did you light a fire before you went to bed tonight?" And of course, he's thrilled with this. So Rand goes to his room and bumps into Aviendha, who is sporting a brand new necklace, which makes him jealous. Why are you jealous, Rand? Thinking of taming the shrew, hasn't really been a thing yet. But Aviendha is there to give him a gift, actually. She's giving him a belt buckle to cancel the debt between them. He says, there is no debt. Aviendha does not care for this response. She basically says, well, if it doesn't cancel the debt, you should destroy it. He's like, no, it's a nice belt buckle. I won't destroy it.
Right.
Jeez, lady.
Turn down a belt buckle. I just think of like when we were in high school, there was a certain class of individuals who were very much about belt buckles.
I'm so glad you brought this up. I was literally thinking exactly the same thing.
And so much so that when the local hospital moved and built a new building, in their gift shop, you could buy a belt buckle for that hospital, the name of the hospital.
Oh my gosh.
And it was enormous. It had to be like the size of like an iPad mini. And it just said whatever regional hospital on it and had their logo. It's such a weird thing to exist.
That is very strange. I much would have preferred this belt buckle that Rand got from Aviendha.
Yeah, hopefully it was a little smaller.
I would think so. Yeah, that does seems much more practical, perhaps. I mean, as practical as any belt buckle can be, I suppose.
Well, I mean, you got to buckle a belt.
You got to buckle your pants. Yeah. So Aviendha says that the wise ones made her turn all of her spears and knives from being a maiden of the spear into gifts for people she hates. So, that's always a wonderful way to get a gift. Here, take this because you're the worst and I hate you. Here's a wonderful, nice belt buckle.
Sounds good.
So once again, Aviendha says Rand belongs to Elaine. This time he gets defensive, probably because of the necklace he knows some other dude gave her. He tells her that just because he kissed Elaine does not mean he belongs to her. Thank you very much. So finally getting a little bit of backbone about it. And then with perfect timing, Tai'Shar, I can never say that right. Tai'Shar comes in pretty much naked with wine, because the maidens have dressed her this way. So Aviendha calls her Sorda, which means rat. So she's prisoner of the maidens for stealing. And Rand had stopped them from like carting her off to Shara or something, kicking her out into the waste to die, even knowing she's a dark friend, because he can't afford to let Kadir or the others be found out, or he'd lose Osmodian. And also because she's a woman and he has a soft spot. He doesn't want women to be hurt. So she's like mad at him for looking at Tai'Shar, but it's like, okay, she just walked in. I mean, It's he's in feels like he's in an awkward position in this situation,
and
as he is very much so. So we catch up with Egwene in the waste also, and she is channeling to heat up her tea. I if I could channel, I would do this sort of thing all the time, man. Cold coffee tastes like Satan's toilet water, or I don't know, Shaitan's toilet water, whatever.
The dark one's taint.
Yeah. Exactly. So I guess I wouldn't want to channel in that case. The wise ones have sent a Tai'Shar to fetch Egwene to the sweat tent. On the way, she tries to make some conversation with this Tai'Shar, which just did not ever go well. And this is a chick named Kawende. They might be great servants, but brilliant conversationalists, they just aren't. I mean, that's not their thing. They're like, here, we're here to serve here in the day. So anyway, Egwene gets to the sweat tent, which is basically a sauna tent, and they've got they got a fire going, they've got like steam coming up. But this is another excuse for Jordan to throw in some unnecessary nudity. But considering that some of the wise ones are described as grandmotherly, I could see Amazon skipping this particular nudity.
I hope
no matter
so, yeah.
no matter how much they decide to include elsewhere.
Right.
The wise ones are sort of talking about they want to design a new scheme to control Rand. Their feathers are just ruffled about the stunt he pulled at the the golden bowl. And they've got toilet on the mind. And they went in on the Rand controlling action. So they're even starting to wonder aloud, maybe we should make Avienda sleep in his bedchambers. And of course, they're not meaning sleep with him, but they.
And Avienda is there, and they're just acting like she's not there, basically.
Right, and she's like just turning purple with like anguish and anger and rage, but she's not going to say anything because she's
Right.
indentured to them as to become a wise one.
Right.
Moraine is arguing that it will be disastrous for the Aiel to cross the Dragon Wall because it could cause the nations to unite against Rand, sort of undoing everything that the Aes Sedai have done. So Amis and the wise one's position is generally, we don't care. So Amis says that 4 clans crossed to kill Laman in the Aiel War. Rand already has 6. Probably more going to join him soon. So we don't care about the nations. The Wetlanders, the puny Wetlanders, we can deal with them. So they refuse to help Moraine convince Rand to abandon his plan. They're like, yeah, we're gonna go along with that part, but we do want to control him in other ways, or at least we want to know what he's going to do. So Egwene sees that Avienda has stripes from where she was whipped, and is like, what's going on here? Bear sort of offhandedly says, Avienda asked me to do it because she says she lied twice, but I don't care. It was just a lot of trouble. So Avienda has asked to be whipped as opposed to being something, that the wise ones did to her because of something they think she did.
Right.
Bear also mentions that there are tinkers in the waste. And Amis mentions that there are Aiel who have given into the bleakness and gone to join them. So we've gone full circle. Aiel wanting to become tinkers after finding out their ancestors follow the way of the leaf. It's sort of makes sense in a strange sort of way. Although, I don't know if we ever encountered any of them, maybe much later, of the actual ones that joined the Tinkers. That would be interesting. I don't remember if we do or not. I don't think so. Amis asks Egwene if she's found Nynaeve or Elaine's dreams, because it would give them a more direct way to communicate without having to arrange to meet in Tel Riyadh, which is such a strange concept. It's like you're having your dream, like you're helping your dog build a golf cart. I don't know, and then suddenly Egwene shows up and tells you some news. It's like, whoa, I'm tripping on acid in my dream here. So far, she hasn't been able to go dream walkie-talkie, but that's still on the docket for things for Egwene to do. Right. Bear tells Egwene and Avienda to go take 50 laps around the camp in the freezing cold because reasons. I don't know. Because they've done something. But they use this time to bond, and Avienda asks if Wetlander women would accept sister wives. And Egwene's like, no, I don't, maybe if they were close friends, but not really. Avienda is still mad that Rand looked at Cinder and liked what he saw. But Egwene, Egwene sort of has his back here. She says that probably had something to do with the way the maidens made her dress. Like,
right.
Come on, what are we doing here? I mean, if she's trying to seduce him, maybe don't have her parade around naked all the time. It just doesn't, it doesn't compute. Yeah. It doesn't make sense. So Egwene says, the wise ones probably won't make you sleep in Rand's room, to which Avienda gets very defensive, saying it's not, no big deal to the Aiel, but it's something else there. So presumably they take their other 49 laps. And then we get to chapter 6, and Rand wakes up because he smells something stinky. Then sudden Darkhound attack. So they must have been rolling in something at Shale Goal. I don't know.
Again, the Dark One's taint.
Yeah. Darkhounds are described as big as ponies, which is terrifying. Just like these aren't Dobermans. These are much bigger. So 3 of them come at him. Rand slices him up with his power sword. Thinks he's won, but he can be forgiven for thinking that because they sort of melt into pools of blood. It's really gross image. But then the blood pools sort of coalesce back into Darkhounds, and this time he burns them away with balefire. Moraine shows up, asks if he's been bitten or otherwise touched by the Darkhounds. Apparently, this is the first time he's gotten a proper name for Darkhounds, which is a little nuts since we're on book 5. Like, you guys, you really need to compare notes more often. I mean, he's fought Darkhounds before. We just never really talked about it, I guess.
It does seem strange that it wouldn't have come up, considering how voracious a reader he's been in the last couple of books.
Yeah. Come on, man. Jeez. Moraine tells him that their bite means death by poison, and she might not have gotten him to him in time if he'd been bitten. She says they tend to travel in packs of 10 to 12. Not terrifying at all. 10 to 12 demonic pony dogs. Jeez. So Rand, of course, realizes there's only been 3 of them out here, so we need to find the rest. So ignoring Rand as she tells him to stop using balefire, though. But it's a fair question. Like, how else were you supposed to kill him in this case?
Right.
So he goes outside, and there are 3 more Darkhounds. They're scratching at a bronze door trying to get in. You know, they've already done their business, and it's cold outside. So Rand blasts these away, too. Matt lets him in, and he's inside with Melindra and naked. Some Darkhound saliva has gotten on him, so Moraine tries to heal him, fails. And that's when Matt notices the foxhead medallion went cold, so he takes it off, and then she's able to heal him. So Moraine, once again, asks to speak to Rand, and he brushes her off. So then in an uncharacteristic moment, she starts pleading and says, I will not be around forever. Bit of something there. Rand responds and says, I can't trust you. You've always tried to manipulate me. So she apologizes and offers to take an oath to obey him, which gets his attention.
Yeah.
And he accepts and he even sort of like apologizes for his own behavior at this point. It's like, oh, wow. Okay. You really do want to help me, it sounds like, or you have something you want to tell me. So the first thing she does is explain the problem with balefire to Rand, something we've talked about a little bit before, how it burns things out of the pattern before the moment of destruction. And Rand's like, well, I've seen you do it. And she responds, yeah, sometimes you got to do what you got to do. I mean, I'm paraphrasing, but,
It's like, yeah, this is definitely one of those, like, parent to child, like,
Because I said so.
As I say, not as I do.
Right. So she says that the holes the Darkhound dug in the wall are gone, and only 1 drop of Darkhound saliva remained, even though more fell on him, which, of course, this is a good thing, because if more had stayed on him, he probably would have killed them. But the point is, definitely doesn't always work out that way. Like in the War of Power, whole cities were destroyed with balefire and nearly unraveled the pattern. So it's hard to say exactly what that would mean, unraveling the pattern, but definitely nothing good. I mean, there's just no doubt about that.
We do get a little bit clearer idea of exactly what that means in the last trilogy. We start to see a little bit of the effects of that.
Fair enough. Yeah, that makes sense. So Rand says bye and weaves a gateway, to which Moraine's like, what on earth is that? It's like, oh, I gotta go, and it just kind of rips a hole in the world. And so Rand responds without saying anything about that and says, leave Matt alone and leave his medallion alone. Moraine, of course, says, this belongs to the White Tower. We need to study it. And Rand's like, nope, and he's like, you said you'd do what I said you would do. And so she reluctantly agrees. Fine, I'll leave him alone. So this gateway is still one of the ones that uses skimming. So Rand is standing on a disc with the Aes Sedai symbol on it, Silver Surfer style. And this I don't know if this is the first time we sort of get traveling explained. The fact that Osmodian has sort of told him you have to know your starting location very well, which always seemed like a strange nebulous concept to me. Like,
right,
you really have to know it.
But as far as a concept, it really does take a lot of things off the table that would allow for a lot more Deus Ex Machina kind of moments where they just jump from place to place.
That's a good point. Yeah, it is. It's weird, but it is good that they can't just take a portal to wherever they want, whenever they want.
Right.
They have to sort of plan ahead and know where you're going from. You have to really know it, whatever that means. First, Rand checks on the tail and finds that Darkhounds have been to his room. They didn't get in probably because of Rand's defenses, but it might have been just because they were scouting. Mm-hmm. Rand thinks they might have been sent to sort of observe and report. So I just really want to see a Darkhound giving a report to a Myrddraal or a Trolloc. I don't know, just wolfing. I don't know. But so Rand, so there's one of those paw prints in stone, and Rand moves the paw prints away from his room so no one will think they were looking for a Gleeman and stop asking questions. Again, seems paranoid, like, okay, no one's worried about that right now, dude. I mean, you're just, but that fair enough, I guess.
Yeah, I do think he has a bit of an irrational concern about Osmodian being found out throughout this whole book.
Right. So then he goes to check on the Choden Call keys, he's hidden in an alcove in his room. They were fine. And so, of course, it's like, why aren't you using those? But Rand thinks he cannot be trusted with that much power.
And there's an error in the audiobook here, by the way.
Okay.
I don't know if it's in the printed version, where in the narration, Rand refers to the location of the two actual Choden Call, and he gets them flip-flopped.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I assume that that's been corrected in more recent editions of the print version, but in the audiobook, he says the male version is on an island out there, and that the female version is near Kyrian instead of vice versa.
Huh. Wow, you have to look back and see. I have a pretty early version of the print. I'll have to see. So then Lanfear sort of catches him with the Choden Call. Whoops. Rand catches her off guard, though, by saying, "You were always ambitious, Mierin." So that surprises her that he says her real name, that her non-forsaken name, her not made up name.
Right.
And his voice grated in his ears. "Why do you think I turned away from you? It wasn't Olenna. Whatever you like to think, you were out of my heart long before I met her. Ambition is all there is to you. Power is all you ever wanted. You disgust me." So, like, full on Lews Therin moment.
Yeah.
And so she declares her undying love for Lews Therin at that moment. It's kind of like pierces her tough veil of forsakenness.
Right. We start to see that, of course, this really is Lanfear's greatest weakness.
She's a crazy ex-girlfriend, won't give up, like swim fan.
Yes. Oh, total swim fan. That is such a specific thing. Like, I feel like people our age and just a little bit older would get that reference now, but no one else.
Right. That movie like disappeared from the face of the earth.
Yes. As well as like that lead actor. Yeah, I'm just saying, like, if she could get that behind her, she could actually probably much more effective villain, because she gets so distracted with wanting Lews Therin to, really, she wants him to bow before her, because it's not just a romantic thing. It really is.
Right. She wants him to worship
right.
Her.
Yeah. But if she could get over that, and really, she has the opportunity to destroy him many times over.
Right. And as we see at the end of this book, she makes decisions that are counter to her best interest because of the way she feels about him. 100%.
Right. Yeah.
That's a very good thing. Good point to make. And she's, repeatedly shown how she can be more cunning than the other Forsaken. She sort of is several steps ahead of them at various times. And if it wasn't for her own mistakes, she, could have come out on top.
Right.
So she tells Rand that Ravine sent the Dark Hounds and he's ruling in Andor. She says that she accuses Rand of guarding his dreams and just doesn't like it, how she could get into the dreams of the wise ones and get into everyone's dreams if she wanted. Drops the little nugget that Egwene's dreams of Gawain, which, fair enough. So Lanfear weaves a gateway and says, "Rand, I am your only hope of surviving," and asks him once again, "Give in to your feelings, join the dark side and rule the universe." And he once again is like, nope. So Nyla comes in, tells him the Shido are moving toward the Jangai Pass. Also, sort of looking around like, was Zinder in here? And says the rest of the clans that aren't with Rand are on the move as well, that though it isn't kind of clear whose side yet they're on. So Rand says, "All right, we're marching for the pass as well. We're going to chase after the Shido." And so when he goes, tells the clan chiefs, who of course take this news stoically, that we're going to go back, invade, cross the dragon wall, invade again. Han is the only one who says anything to Shale Goal itself, which is good. So on to chapter 7. This is one of our mini traveling filler chapters.
Right.
As opposed to a filler book like The Path of Daggers. I'm kidding. But seriously, look at the plot summary for that one on Wikipedia compared to The Shadow Rising. It's like a paragraph compared to like a page.
Yeah, no doubt. You're
Not much
in the
happens.
slog at that point.
Yeah, that's why. Yeah, exactly. So Egwene is getting ready to travel with the Aiel. Just watching them pack up. She successfully found Amice's dreams, didn't find Elaine or Nynaeve's, but it is a win. Dreaming isn't the same as, I don't know, sleeping normally. So she's just totally exhausted. Body doesn't exactly go into REM sleep when the mind is skipping around the world of dreams or other people's dreams. She found other people's dreams in the process of trying to find Amice's. Mentions that Hanan Kadir is apparently a pervert, which is a shocker. What else is new? She also sees that Isindra has been dressed. Am I saying that right? Isindra. Okay, Isindra. Okay, I just could not remember. She sees Isindra has been dressed in black wool by the maidens, which is probably worse than being naked in terms of being uncomfortable. Overhears Rand, in the heat, and she's like sweating.
Right.
She overhears Rand telling the clan chiefs to send messengers to Esteding. He wants the Ogier to come rebuild Roidion because they built it in the first place, I guess. Egwene sniffs judgmentally when she sees Mat and a maiden who is much too old for him. Love those moments. Then Aiel asks Rand if he's going away for good or if he'll return. And he says, I don't know. But he will leave something for them to remember him by. So he channels and water comes gushing out of the Rodian fountains. Oh, yeah, there was water under Rodian. We sort of, like in the midst of everything else, that wasn't really a pressing concern. But, hey, that's pretty cool. The Aiel will have water in Rodion at least. Mm-hmm. So then we get a rare Moraine perspective. Lan says he doesn't like to see her worried, says she seems impatient, sort of out of character for her. So Moraine says that Rand continues to draw away from her and she'll do anything short of sharing his bed to get him to listen. The rings told her that particular strategy wouldn't work, or else I guess maybe she would have, but she just is like, that's a bad idea.
Yikes.
Yeah. So the two seals are safely packed in the wagons that are being driven by dark friends. Whoops. Rand, buddy, what? Come on, man. But they're in casks lined with wool, so at least they won't go through a pothole and accidentally unleash Tarmon Gaiden,
Yeah.
It's like, that'd be a fun moment.
Dunk. And all hell breaks loose, quite literally.
Exactly. So that brings us to the end of chapter 7.
Right. Okay, that sounds like a good place to stop.
So we're switching to spoilers if you're listening and you haven't read this far yet. I really, just a momentary meta talk about spoilers here for a minute. I do want to try. I really want to try to do better about this personally. I had a friend who just finished Eye of the World and was like, hey, can I listen to your podcast and it not ruin everything? I was like, yeah, you can listen. It shouldn't ruin. It might ruin something minor. It's like, but I want to do better for those random. Davi, if you're listening, if you've made it to book 5, I am shocked and impressed. Anyway. Yeah. So
I think we've done better and better as we've gone along.
I agree. I think so. Yeah, it's early on we played a little fast and loose, but we are doing better. So anyway, spoilers. I love the direction we start to go with Rand in this book. Where he starts to get more and more of Lews Therin's memories. My favorite, though, is after the chest, after they sort of merge to kind of agree to join forces. And then so more at that point, he's more or less just Lews Therin and him at the same time. He has memories. Right. Sometimes even the personality, like you don't get that, like the voice in his head anymore. And that's he's more in control, more poised. The transition is annoying. The more we get Lews Therin's voice in his head, it's like, okay, this is just getting annoying. But but it really, I think it's a satisfying arc, and it sort of seems like it really starts in this book where we start to get more of that. Right. So
on the subreddit Wetlander Humor, there is a bot that's the Luce Theron bot that is filled with all the random stuff that Luce Theron says in Rand's head, and it will randomly reply to things. If you mention characters' names or whatever, it'll come in and just pick out a random thing. Like if you mention one of the female characters' names, it'll be like hums and thumbs your yeah, and
love it.
or yeah, or if if you mention
Elena, maybe.
Yeah, if you start mentioning if you mention Mazrim Taim, it says kill him now.
Yeah, when he like claws for the power, like tries to take control. Yeah, that's good.
Anyway, yeah, I do enjoy that whole arc as we get to see him kind of. It's this weird thing of like both descending into madness, but also becoming more of what he's supposed to be at the same time.
Right.
And it's kind of an interesting way to develop a character.
Yeah, and it does sort of make me sort of wonder a little bit. Okay, so after that, they've sort of joined forces. We know Luce Theron was crazy. So after Rand cleanses Sidene, is he just completely not crazy? Is Luce Theron in his head not crazy? Anyway, It's a completely academic and strange thing to even think about, but it is it's a thing.
Yeah, that's what this podcast is for. It's
exactly, yeah. It's sort of ponder.
Okay, well, we'll stop there for now, and as always, want to invite you to visit our website at tsmpodcast.com. We've got a contact form. We would love to hear from you, so fill that out. Let us know if there is something we've said that is factually inaccurate, or if you have some happy words to say, we might give you a shout out on the podcast. So do that, and follow us on the Gram and Twitter and Facebook. You can find us at Podcast TSM on all of those, and we just started posting our stuff to YouTube. It's just the same things. We're just trying to get it out there for more people to listen to. So you can also find us there. Anyway, that's all for now. So Tai'Shar Manethrin.